be acceptable to you, Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. This is a very special day indeed, isn't it? A day of joy and of celebration. And it's brilliant to see so many new faces here today. Even if you haven't been near a church for many years, or perhaps never, we're really glad that you're here today. Now, I know that some of you might be thinking, I just came here for the baby and the photos and maybe a sausage roll or two, not a sermon. So I promise today there's going to be no heavy theology, no guilt trips, just a story, but one that might help us all to breathe a little bit deeper, to laugh a little bit more often, and maybe even to leave here just feeling a wee bit different. And I promise to keep it short. I can already see the faces in the congregation that are usually here saying, "Can we have a baptism every week?" In the passage that we've just heard, Jesus is only 6 days away from his crucifixion. He knows what's coming. And so what does he do? He goes to a dinner party. That tells us something straight away. Jesus isn't distant or untouchable. He eats, drinks, laughs and cries. He lives out real life with real people. Now at that dinner party, something surprising happens. Let's set the scene. It's 6 days before Passover. Jesus is in Bethany having a meal with his friends. Lazarus is there, who's just been raised from the dead. Martha is rumbling about trying to serve some food, probably shouting, "Next time, tell me before you invite 13 folk back for dinner." And her sister Mary, she walks in with a jar of perfume, pure nard, imported from India, worth about a year's wages. If you've never heard of nard, think of Chanel No. 5 mixed with liquid gold and then poured into a pint bottle. And then she pours the whole thing out. Not just a little bit on Jesus' head, or not just a dab on his wrist, but the whole jar is poured out over his feet. Not exactly subtle. And then she lets her hair down and she proceeds to wash Jesus' feet with her hair. Now, in that culture, no respectable woman would let her hair down, never mind wash somebody's feet with it in public. But she does. Now, what she does is extravagant. And in those days, it was maybe even a wee bit awkward for everybody else to watch. And yet, it's beautiful. Because Mary gets it. She knows who Jesus really is. And she knows that his time is short. More than that, she knows that if she doesn't show her love to him here and now, she might not get another chance. She doesn't measure out the perfume. She doesn't save some for later. No, she pours it all out. Imagine being there in that small room. The smell would have wafted right through the room, filling every inch of air with that smell. And smell, as you all know, is a powerful thing. The scent of something can take you by surprise, and it can transport you back in time and place, re-arriving distant memories. Fresh cut grass, you're 10 again and you're out your back garden playing with the dog. Home bacon, you're back to your granny's kitchen, waiting to see if she'll let you lick the spoon. And baby wipes, you're up changing them at 3 a.m. in the morning, half asleep, but your heart is full. Smell stays with us, and that's what John's talking about. The house was filled with the fragrance of that perfume. Now, he didn't say this because it was strong, but because it would forever be a reminder of Mary's love for Jesus. And that's the same kind of love that we're celebrating here today. the love of parents, the love of godparents, grandparents, family and friends, in fact, the whole church for young Samuel. Now, that love isn't always practical, because love is costly. It means sleepless nights, even though you know you've got to get up at the crack of dawn to go to work in the morning. It means sticky hands. It means stepping in Lego when you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to the toilet. But it's real. It fills the room, fills the whole house, and it leaves a permanent mark. Of course, in our passage, not everyone was thrilled at Mary's display of love. Judas chips in with, couldn't this perfume be sold and the money given to the poor? There's always one, isn't there? The person who comes along to a potluck supper without any food and then complains there's nothing there that they like. Now, on the surface, his words might seem noble, but John, who was actually there, tells us that Judas didn't say this because he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief. He was the purse bearer, but he also wanted to fill his own pockets. But even if Judas had been sincere, Jesus would still have disagreed, because love isn't the most efficient thing. It's not always practical. If you've ever loved somebody, you've probably done all sorts of things that made no logical sense. Stayed up all night, spent far more money on them than you could really afford, or forgiven them for things when every fibre of your body said, I'm not going to forgive again. And the world doesn't always understand that. It often thinks a different way. Being kind when somebody's cruel to you, you're letting them walk all over the top of you. Going to church to worship your Creator on a Sunday, you could have a long lie in bed. But Jesus sees love as something completely different. He tells Judas to leave her alone. He defends Mary, because he knows that this isn't recklessness. It's a response to grace. Mary saw what all the others missed, that Jesus was soon heading to his death. And she honours him not with words, but with something far more precious, something that says, you are worth more than everything that I have. And that brings us back to today, to young Samuel, who we have just baptised. Maybe we haven't cracked open expensive bottles of perfume, but we have done something sacred. We've said, here is someone we love, made in God's image, and we brought him to Jesus. Now, baptism won't get him into a nursery any quicker. It won't get him to a better school. And all the outfits that you bought and the cost of the meal, it's not tax deductible. But love doesn't need to be efficient. It only needs to be real. Jesus welcomes what we bring, and he adds to it. We bring water, he pours out his Spirit. We bring promises, he surrounds them with his grace. We bring love, and he magnifies it through his love. This is what Christian life is really about. Not trying to impress God, but responding, like Mary, to the love that we've already received. So here's a wee question to end with. What scent will you leave behind? When people walk away after a conversation with you, do they feel lifted, encouraged, or loved? Or do they leave with the faint whiff of sarcasm or disapproval? Mary's perfume filled that house, and her love changed the whole atmosphere. And we're invited to live that way too. To carry with us the fragrance of Christ, peace, joy, and sacrificial love into a world that so badly needs it. And the good news, you don't need to be perfect. Mary wasn't a preacher or a theologian. She just gave what she had, and it changed everything. So whether you're here in this church every Sunday, or you haven't set foot in a church for years, remember this. God knows your heart. He delights when we pour ourselves out for him, even when it's messy, even when other people don't understand. Jesus always understands, and he always loves. So, may Samuel's baptism be a reminder of the love that poured itself out for us. And may we carry that love with us, spilling out little splashes of its fragrance of grace wherever we go. Amen.